Hello there, you beautiful people, and welcome back to another lesson in Advanced Excel. And today we're talking about a very important concept in Excel, and that is the concept of dates. So we're in the dates file under level 1, and I want you to come over to sheet 1, okay? And over here in sheet 1, open the first grouping, which is by the row 15. Press this button here, okay. Now, some of you may have noticed that when you have two dates in Excel, you can find the difference in days between these two dates. And you can do that by subtracting the start date from the end date. So if I do end date minus start date, it gives us the difference in days. And you can see it's 1 here because there's only, what's the difference between the 23rd of June and 22nd of June? It's just 1 day. That's why the difference here is 1. Okay. Now let me enter another date. Let me enter today's date. Today is the 22nd of April. And let me enter the end of this year, 31st of December 2020. And let me try and find the difference in days. Okay, why do we get an error here? The reason why we get an error here is because Excel only accepts dates in the MDY format, the month, date, year format. And here I entered the date in the DMY format. I went day, then month, then year. That is why I could not find the difference. That's why Excel does not recognize this as a date and it cannot find the difference. So if instead I had entered it 04 22 12 31, now you see that it gives me a difference, although this is not in the right format. Let me apply the right format. I can see it gives me a difference in date here of 253 days. So the difference between 31st December 2020 and today is 253 days. So we have 253 days to go between now and the end of the year. Okay. Now, let me show you something. If I select any date and under the home tab, under this number area, I apply the comma style. Notice what happens. It shows a number. It shows a number instead of a date. And why is that? This is because in Excel, all dates are stored as numbers. When you type that out, in Excel, all dates are stored as numbers. All valid dates are stored as numbers rather. So if you don't enter a date in the MDY format, it's not going to be stored as a number. And to just explain more on what I mean by this, come over to the timeline tab. Okay, and what does it say here? It says every valid date is a number, being the number of days as counted from 31st December 1899. So this is a convention used in Excel that after the cutoff date of 31st December 1899, every date after this is represented by one number. So what does this mean? What's the first day after 31st December 1899? That's 1st January 1900. So 1st January 1900 is stored as the number 1. 2nd January 1900 is stored by the number what? Let me apply the comma style to 2nd January 1900. And when I do that, you can see it's 2, and so on and so forth. 3rd January 1903, and so on and so forth. So, how many days? What is 31st December 2011 stored as? How many days? What's the difference between 31st December 2011 and this? Let me apply the comma style here. 40,908. That's for 31st December 2011. Take note of this number. Now let's go back to sheet 1. I just want to prove something here. I'll show you proof about that. Then come to the second grouping next to row 38. Okay, let me remove this. Okay, now what is the cutoff date? The cutoff date is 31st December 1899. That's the end of 1899. The end of 1899 is also the beginning of 1900. So the end of 1899 is the same as the start of the year 1900. So I'm going to enter 1900 here. From the start of 1900, 31st December 2011 is the end of the year 2011. So I'm going to enter 2011 here. From the start of 1900 to the end of 2011, how many number of years have elapsed since the start of 1900 to the end of 2011? How many years have elapsed? Remember, we're including the year 1900 and the year 1920. The year 192011 are included. That is 112 years. Now, some of you may ask, how is it 112 years? If you have 2011 minus 1900, it gives you 111 years. But it is because we are talking about the start of 1900, not the end of 1900. So the start of 1900, by the start of 1900, only 1899 years have passed. So it should actually be 2011 minus 1899. And if you do that, it gives you 112. Okay, that's just by the way. How many days do you have in a year? You have 365.25 days a year. This is accounting for leap years. So you have 365.25 days a year. Now, what is the total number of days from 1st January 1900 to 31st December 2011? That is the total number of years multiplied by the total number of days per year. And you can see this just to prove what we have in timeline. You can see it gives us the same 40,908. Okay, now come over to the third grouping by row 40 and 59 here. Now, after you've entered a valid date in Excel using the MDY format, so let's say the valid date of, let me use today, 22nd, rather the MDY format, so it should be 04 22 2020, right? After you've entered a valid date in Excel, you can choose between skins. Skins are just different presentations for your dates. So how do I get to skins? You want to get to the format cells dialog box by right clicking on the cell, coming over to format cells here, or you could also open this dialog box with Ctrl 1. Okay, and when you do that, you can choose between any of these skins here. Where to choose this skin, and whichever skin you pick, it is still stored as the original date. It's just the presentation that changes. No matter what the skin is, it is stored as a valid date, and a valid date is stored as a number in Excel. Okay, now let's move to the last grouping by row 71 here. Now we already know how to check if a date is a number, if a date is valid, to know if it's a number. Okay, so let me enter that 31st December 2011, and we already know how to check if it's a valid date or not. We do that by applying the comma style. And if it changes to a number, we know it's a valid date, because every valid date in Excel is a number. Okay, but what if we have a long list of different dates and we don't want to be applying the comma style one by one? How do we check? How do we verify that they are valid dates? We do that with a formula called the isNumber formula, which obviously it just checks, is this cell a number? So I'm going to enter the isNumber formula here, and you only ask for one parameter, which is the value. So I'm just going to select this value, press enter, and it says it returns true, meaning that yes, it is a number. 27 is a number. But let me drag this down to the next cell, and it returns false because this is text, this is not a number. Okay, so with that formula, let me check if this list of dates are valid dates with the isNumber formula. I put in the value, press enter, and it returns true, because if I look into it, it is stored in the correct format, the date, the month rather, the date, then the year, the MDY format. And if I drag it down, it is true as well, because if I look into it, it is stored in the MDY format. If I drag it down again, it is true, and I'll look into it, the MDY format. Let me check the last one. This one is false. And when I look into it, it is because it is stored in the DMY format, which is not a valid format in Excel for a date. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. And in the next lesson, we'll dive deeper into dates and what you can do with them. Thank you very much for watching. Again, I'd like to hear back from you, hear your feedback. How can I improve this lesson? Any questions you have, direct them to the comment section, send it to me by email, or send me a WhatsApp message. Thanks very much for watching.